Hello world! So here we are with homework number 4. So this is the Google spreadsheet BattleShip game that we've been working on. Now we've finished our code for the game, but what we don't have is an easy way to reset our Cs. So I'm going to bring over the code here for our actual game. So this is our Python code. What I did here is I took the actual code that we worked on with G Sheet 6 and we converted that over to the G Sheets homework 4. Make sure you're saving your file as homework 4 like you see here. So all the stuff from the top here is still going to be staying the same. I'm changing the welcome printout since we're not playing the game, we're resetting the board. So this should be a pretty simple program overall with just a loops to go through each individual cell. But right here towards the top, just have it print out so when you load your program, you talk to the user, basically know what's going on. I've opened up the sheet just like we did when we're playing the game. I got rid of the enemy tracking side of things and everything, so we only have the friendly side of things. So when you get attacked, your ships get blown up, you can run this Python program to reset your Cs. Okay, I have a single function here, and this is just called reset cell. So this is going to be the same thing for everybody. I'm not hiding any code today. One thing to note, since we are doing pure integers with this library call, it's a little bit different than what we've become used to when we were sending the strings out to the A9, for example. Everything's going to be based on numbers. When we do that, sending it in that fashion, the row is first, and then the comma, and then a column with comma delimitation. So you have row is our variable and column is the other variable with a comma between the two. And then we do comma and what we want it to actually put in that cell. Okay, notice there are no parentheses here. So again, this is just the friendly, which is the sheet name that we've determined here up above. Update cell, row, column, 0. So we're just putting a 0 in every cell. Okay. And then I'm initializing some variables as I note here. Tracker, I start as number 1. Column as number 1. Row as number 2. I'm going to pull the code out of the way and we'll talk about that real quick. So the column 1 equals A. Okay, so that's why I have the column here starting at 1 and row starting at 2. Since we have the labels up above on the actual first row, a row needs to start in number 2. Okay, now we jump over to actually starting the loop. And I have some comments on here. I expect you guys all to comment your code and print out to the terminal so when you're running the program you actually know what's happening. So the very first thing I have is this large while loop. Since tracker starts at 1, I'm doing a while tracker less than 101 because there are 100 cells within this BattleShip C. Okay, at the very beginning of the loop, I want to make sure everybody does the same thing here. I'm printing out to the screen. So as you're running the program, you can see what's actually happening behind the scenes. So every time it loops, it prints out resetting row plus our variable row, converting that to a string since we're printing strings on that same row or on that same line here. And then we're also printing column, so we get a space, column, space, plus our integer converted to a string. So this is all going to be in the same line. Okay. Now, since we do have the API limits when we're using the Google Sheets library, I have a couple different sleeps built into this just to make sure we do not exhaust the API calls. So if tracker equals 20, for example, print out to the screen so you know what's happening, that we're pausing for 10 seconds and do a 10-second sleep. Then right after that sleep is finished, do a print continue just so you can see on the screen what's happening. Same thing at 50, same thing at 80. Remember, we do have that 100 call limit. So as we're progressing through this, we don't want to exhaust it and have to restart the program. So as long as none of these are true, we'll just skip through all this as the loop continues on. And then we're doing the reset cell function, sending it column and row. And that jumps up to here as we just reviewed. Column and row is accepted by the function, and then it does the friendly dot update cell, row, and column. Again, notice row is first and then column. Okay, so then after that, if the row counter reaches 11, the bottom of the board, reset to 2. So look over here on this spreadsheet. Since we start at 2 and we have 10 cells, we end at 11. So we want it to work its way down these rows, but once we hit 11, we don't want to overwrite our A. We want to jump back over here in the B column and work our way down from 2 to 11 again. In order to do that, we have this little if statement. If row equals 11, row now equals 2, so we're basically just resetting row to 2, just like we have it here at the very beginning, resetting it to 2, so we'll start back up here at B2, and then we add 1 to column. Since column starts as 1, what it's going to do is you can see basically off this if, is what's going to happen. It's going to start at A or 1, the way this is being sent, and then row 2. It's going to work its way down from 2 to 11. Once row equals 11, row is resetting to 2, and column equals plus equals 1. What that means here is, I'm sure you can remember, is basically just column plus 1. So that's going to take us and move us from the first column to the second column to the third column to the fourth column, and so on until we reach this bottom right-hand corner. That allows us to reset our overall C's. Okay? Now, if this is not true, if this if statement is not valid, it hits this else of just row plus equals 1, so it adds 1 to row. And at the very end of this loop, I add 1 to the tracker. That way we can work our way through the entire different thing. And then when the program is done, I just simply print to terminal, BattleShip C reset complete. Just make sure everybody's tracking. The very first thing that's supposed to happen is supposed to happen with A2, work its way down, all the way down here, all the way down to A11. Then row now equals 2, and then column plus 1. So we start here at B2 and work its way down. I've added more ones here than we typically have on our BattleShip game, just so we can watch it progress through the screen. I'm going to bring up the terminal here. So I'm running in our server. I have my G Sheets Homework 4 already running with the program that I have wrote here. It's a very basic program, and you see here, this is my BattleShip game file that I did my file save as G Sheets Homework 4. So I still have some of the notes from the previous file that I can basically just use for reference. So that's why I had mentioned always just hit save as and then work off of that file if you're continuing off of a program so you can keep your older copies. So let's run this program. We'll keep the spreadsheet open. And if I bring my putty back up, so here's my terminal. And I've already have it filled in, Python, since we're using the G Sheets library, G Sheets Homework 4, and I'll execute this, and hopefully since we're doing this video, we won't have any errors. So first thing, yep, it says welcome to Python, reset loading. It's printing and moving its way down the second column. And you can see it's printing out here, resetting row 11, column 2. And then it hits my pause for 10 seconds. It should say continue and continue on. Here we are. It's working through C, jumps to D, and we'll hit that reset point again soon, pausing for 10 seconds. Once that 10-second counter is complete, it should print out again, continuing, and you'll see the resetting row will continue to increase and continue to print out to the terminal. So we've now reset the majority of our BattleShip Cs. Once this is complete, it'll make it all the way down to J11. It should say it's completed. So this is something that'd be beneficial for everybody to be able to run when we're done with the game. That way it just resets your entire board. All right, so you see here, resetting row 11, column 10. Column 10 is J, row 11, that's that bottom right-hand corner. Then it prints out BattleShip C resets complete. So you see I have all my zeros here. So I can reset my battleships wherever I would like to put them. So this should be a pretty simple, easy code here for you. And again, this is the code. I would prefer you to not copy paste, so I have not added this to any of your student files. However, you can look at the screen, hit pause anytime you wish, and be able to just copy this down from your screen. It's beneficial to go through the process of typing it out, just so you kind of work that into memory. And I'll do another section of the homework that I want everybody to get familiar with in the next video. But this is the basics of this reset program. Hopefully you learned something, and I look forward to next class.